Welcome back to In Pursuit of Magic, where we explore the things that inspire us, connect us, and the magic we discover on the way. I'm Matthew Medina, and today's very special guest is an incredibly talented actor and singer who's taken iconic roles like Danny Zuko in Grease on Broadway, as well as roles on hit shows like Ray Donovan, Emergence, and Elsbeth. They also host their own podcast entitled Hi, Sweetie. I'm very honored to welcome Max Mendoza Crumm. Max, thanks so much for being on today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I love anything having to do with magic.
Yeah, and there's a lot of magic in terms of the world of creativity and making things and performing and connecting with other artists. So I'm really excited to dive into all the things you've been up to because you juggle a lot. So
Oh
I'm
my
really
God, do
curious
I?
in terms of what were your
Okay.
earliest inspirations that made you interested in this world of creating.
Yeah, so great question. Because I guess I do seemingly do a lot, but no, my earliest inspirations were just I grew up what was essentially like a family-run circus or like a community theater. My dad was the director, directed all the shows. My mom was the star of all the shows, and like my parents were really good at creating sort of community, not where there wasn't one, but sort of finding all the weird people. And so I sort of watched that a lot growing up. That was my earliest foundation, was seeing them get together and create something out of nothing with these people from their community. And I really thought that was special as a kid. So those are my earliest influences, was sort of like realizing like, wow, I really want to be involved in this. I love what storytelling does. I love the community. I think I want to be on stage. Like, I just love the larger than life aspect too about theater, how we can be things on stage that we can't necessarily be in life. And as a kid, I always knew that that was sort of just like a social construct. We can obviously be whatever we want in life. It's just like the proscenium allows you to do that while others are there, and it's like socially acceptable. And that was like my earliest inspiration was like, you mean I can get away with things while I'm on stage? I love that. But yeah, that was probably, I would say, my earliest inspo.
I can definitely see that. I think whether it's on stage or I'm someone who grew up loving animation, and it was for similar reasons. There's so many things you can do and characters you can play that are larger than life that you don't
Yep.
normally see in everyday life when you're interacting with people. And there's a freedom there and there's a safe space there, which I think is incredible to realize from an early age because it calls to parts of you that you want to put on display, that you want to play out, that you want to try on, that you want to connect with other people with. And like you
Yeah.
said, community is a big part of that.
Yes. Yeah. And I think for me too, as a kid, most young people and most kids and young adults are still finding themselves in the act of like trying on other people's points of view and maybe different outfits and exploring and that kind of thing. That kind of was just at the height of what I wanted to do and think about when I was a kid. So I think just like pursuing theater and acting and any sort of form of storytelling was kind of just like always in the cards for me. I'm just such a people watcher and yeah, really.
Those are usually the best kind of performers, the people who are always noticing other people and taking in their little qualities, their quirks, the way they move,
Yeah.
their mannerisms. I mean, it's incredible because that's how you get to learn how to be someone completely different from yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up definitely like being forced to go to church. So like there was a lot of I think like a lot of us. And I think I just sat on Sundays like most of the time watching everybody's idiosyncrasies, like literally seeing the little things that made people, I don't know. That's part of what made me fall in love with storytelling, was the idea that I could show people themselves and maybe make them giggle a little bit or maybe make them go, "Oh, do I do that? Interesting." Or just I just
Yeah.
like the idea that being on stage or being an actor or being an artist in a way is like that. I don't want to say all access pass, especially nowadays, but like it's mostly like you get a pass to sort of talk about the elephant in the room. And if you don't get a pass, you're talking about it anyway. And that's what I love.
Absolutely. And I think even the audience gets to see those characters play out and they're like, I know someone like that, which is incredible because yeah, we all know someone like that. And
Yes.
sometimes it's ourself, which is the funniest part too. So how did you start pursuing that dream once you realized this is what I want to do? Like, how did you get your start?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was just my start. I don't really remember like a specific jumping off point. It was just sort of always part of who I was. And it was just sort of a natural progression. I mean, I even have an interview that I did when I was the Grinch in How the Grinch Stole Christmas when I was like a teenager in Arizona. It's like my family has it framed. And it's hysterical because in the interview, it's like a big picture of me like and in the costume. And like in the interview, they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I literally answer, oh, I'm doing it. I'm an actor. So this is like what I'm doing. So I don't know. I think I've just always wanted to be an actor, performer, creative person. And so I stuck to that. And, you know, I couldn't be more opposite from my sister, who was like, I don't know what I want to do. That's crazy that you know what you want to do. So she's now a kindergarten teacher. So she's actually doing like the Lord's work, but like
Yeah,
we inspire in our different ways, you know. But that
exactly.
was, I don't really remember anything other than just being in love with like what my parents had created and what like my dad was doing and how amazing my mom was. And just kind of like also the attention. I had loved attention as a kid. Anybody who says they don't love attention, they're probably being truthful. But I was like, oh, I love this. I love this. I can make people laugh. I love bringing joy to people and making people laugh. And I think that honestly, I mean, I wish I had some sort of like moment, but it was just sort of always like I woke up one day and was like, whoa, you know, this is crazy. Like, how did I even get into this situation? It's kind of crazy.
I mean, that's amazing because it's a running theme I seem to hear a lot where there are some people who just knew. Like they knew from an early age, like this is what I want to do, this is what I'm gonna do, and this is who I am. And I feel like that way of looking at life and yourself, knowing yourself that well, is really helpful in overcoming some of the obstacles that may come up on that journey. Because there's always so many, and it could also sometimes feel lonely or make you second guess. People talk about imposter syndrome, and I think having that
Yeah.
centerpiece of feeling like, no, this is who I am. It's so
Like being
important.
a little bit crazy, like having just a little bit of that delusion, you need it. That's really all it
Yes,
is. It's
that's
like, because none
yes.
of this is real. I mean, show business is not real. Nobody knows what they're talking about. So as long as you walk in the door with some sort of point of view and like spark behind your eye and like grit, hopefully you can make something happen. You know what I mean? I don't want to say you can, because who even knows? Like, I don't even know. Like, it's such an interesting, crazy beast, showbiz and, you know, the arts and stuff like that. So I don't know.
No, it's absolutely true. And I think you hit the nail on the head by saying it takes like an ounce of delusion in some ways, or it feels that way at least. Even if other
Yeah.
people may be like, no, no, that's very possible. You're doing it. And it's like, well,
Mhm.
I feel like I need to be a little bit delusional in order to be confident enough to keep going.
Yeah, that was just my case in any way, you know. I was just kind of like,
Yeah, it
I think
happens to
I
many.
later realized like the level of maybe not delusion, but just like blind confidence I had, which I'm like, wow, I don't know that I would have ever made it as far as I had made it at a certain point in my life had I not been that brazen, you know. I mean, oh my goodness, yeah. But
I
yeah,
mean, and that's super important. And especially when it's so meaningful and a part of who you are, which makes me wonder, like, what
yeah.
has been, for you at least, the most fulfilling or magical part so far of getting to do what you love?
My God. The most fulfilling and magical part has probably been, I guess, getting to probably the most fulfilling thing is getting to share this sort of journey and experience with everybody in a sense, like because of, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like mostly like, you know, my family is just super proud of anything that I have been able to achieve. And that's been like such a beautiful thing because, you know, started in the theater and getting to work in the theater. It's sort of like, I think probably opening night. I mean, I don't know. Wow. I guess it's so weird because there's been so many like lightning strike moments that were just so insane, I feel like. But okay, if I want to say, I don't know about most magical, but I would say like a really crazy magical moment was definitely opening night of Grease on Broadway, you know, when my family was all there and it was the culmination of so much. And it was just such a like so much hard work that I'd poured into everything. And I couldn't believe everything that had happened in my life up until that point too. Like from March 22 or from like October 2020, 2006, not 2020. Oh my God. From October 2006 to March 2007 was like a whirlwind. And then like rehearsing the show was insane, but opening night was that sort of moment of realization of like, wow, this is actually happening. And the front row was like all of the contestants from the reality show that didn't win, which I thought was weird, but like, I thought it was really cool to like, it was just such a level of like, wow, I went through that. And then just all the familiar faces in the crowd and just that was such a once in a lifetime crazy experience to have. And that's like definitely among the most magical moments of my life in terms of like theater and the arts and stuff like that. And I would say like a silly fun one that was very recent was like last year on my birthday, I was filming Elsbeth and everybody sang me happy birthday. And like that was really magical. I just love stuff like that where it's like, whoa, like just like being on set and like having wonderful people like be really sweet and celebrate is like really kind of, I don't know, little Max would be like, what the heck? This is like happening. So those are pretty kind of magical.
I mean, absolutely, especially because not every set is created equally. You don't always get that kind of experience. So to get it is a very special thing.
Yeah, it's
And
very true.
we'll
And I
we'll
was
get into
just,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But now I'm curious, how was the experience of going through the reality show and then becoming Danny Zuko?
Well, that it was a pretty formative experience. Almost like entirely harrowing and in like a test in mental fortitude almost. I definitely didn't know what I was signing up for when I auditioned. And I tell people this a lot. Audition for everything because you never know. I was just living in LA at the time. I think later that day I had a callback for like not Law and Order, but like one of those shows, but it was when I was living in LA and like I just randomly on a whim went to audition for it. And I remember once I sang in front of cameras, like my life was kind of, nothing was ever the same after that. Like I remember like the momentum and things just started changing. But that whole reality show was like, I just had fun. I just had fun the whole time because I thought to myself, oh my gosh, well, there's no way I'm going to win this. So I'll just have fun. Maybe I'll get like a commercial or like a good agent out of it or something like that. So the whole entire time I was kind of just hanging out, showing my chops, which was a lot of fun. It was just like a lot of, I think approaching it like that and thinking that there was no chance I was going to win it actually set me up for a little bit of success in that way. And so it was just crazy. It was like being on like a weird Grease in space show that felt like Mickey Mouse Club kind of, where we were like a cast and we all had our own color. Like I was orange and we all had like our own like nicknames. I was Slacker Danny. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, so like everything's gonna be orange. Like great, I'm like golden. Like and I remember one of the guys was like, I'm purple. And I was like, and he was like, you mean to tell me all my lights are gonna be purple? And I was like thinking to myself, like, I really lucked out here. Like, I'm going to get like orange anyway. And then I remember thinking, talking to the woman who won, she got yellow. And I remember we had a conversation that was like, our lighting is going to be beautiful. Like, and all the gray, all the like purple and blues were like, what do you mean? And then also coincidentally, this is just like a little side note. The last four colors that were left, maybe America has no idea what they're doing, were red, yellow, green, blue. Or like red, orange, yellow, green. So like they literally deleted like the purples first, then the blues, then the like. So it was like, I don't know. I have a theory about that. And also on most of the competition reality shows, whoever was orange wins, which is really weird. And I have a
Interesting.
theory that it's
Yeah.
because of the lighting. Also, that was a really crazy thing to be on. A lot of the people are really like Kate Rockwell was on that show. She's super famous now. Ashley Spencer is married to Jeremy Jordan and has his child. So that's very famous. But like, there's like lots of, it was really weird and fun. And it felt like being kind of like a swing in certain aspects because sometimes you'd have to do a different part if someone got eliminated. But I just had fun. And I think my experience was different from everybody else's because like each week when I would come on stage, they would like announce the cast and like the crowd would go like scream. And each week I remember the crowd screams for me were a little bit bigger. And I kept thinking like, oh, interesting. And like the fans in the studio audience would like wear our colors and stuff. So I also noticed
Oh,
that like
nice.
there would be more and more orange, and so that was kind of like, this is interesting. Like, am I doing well? And then I also remember that because of that, then I started to feel bad and awkward and like underplay things because then there were other people that were like noticing that they were not having people out
Right.
there or that there were like not people cheering as much for them. So that was like a weird part to navigate because I was simultaneously being like, this is so cool. People love this. And also being like, oh, but like there, who knows what that means, But I would say overall that experience was insane and I cannot believe what transpired or that I even made it through that. Really.
I
you
mean,
know?
that's such an interesting element to the show too, because like you said, yeah, it does kind of give a visual representation of who people are cheering for, maybe, and who people are there to see. And you
Yeah.
don't normally get that in other shows, on the one hand. And on the other, I was also thinking about how you went into it not really thinking, oh, I'm gonna get this or anything like that. And I'm wondering, do you think that gave you the freedom to just enjoy it and be a little more carefree than you normally would?
Yeah. 1000%. I mean, I was just like, oh, well, one of you guys is going to be great. And then just like dancing and doing my thing. You know what I mean? Like, um, a little insider thing is also too, like I had very unofficially, very secretly been cast already as Duty in the Broadway production halfway through the reality show competition. I wasn't like allowed to tell anybody and it was very informal, but they didn't know the results. So if I would have lost at the very end, they would have live on camera offered me the role of Duty. And I kind of heard whispers of that. I didn't know that. And also, if you watch the final episode, the finale, there's no Duty. They introduced the whole entire Broadway cast and then the winners, and there's no Duty there. And it's because he was cast after the fact, because they were gonna, because I was, I guess, like very popular in like the whole time. And the producers did tell me and the woman who won afterwards that after the second episode, her and I, like our voting numbers were like miles ahead of everybody, like the whole entire time. So they were kind of just like giving the people what they wanted in a sense. Cause like the second episode, they started to pair her and I together more and like put us, there just were kind of little things like that. It wasn't like they were orchestrating anything. They were just more like, oh, okay, well, let's see like what is going on here. But yeah, that's what a crazy experience. But like, again, very unofficially, very like, I'm sure Kathleen Marshall, the producers will be like, you were not cast as Duty. But like that also was part of like, I think towards the second half, I was just like chilling. So I was like, oh, well, maybe
Yeah,
I'll do
I mean,
this, And yeah.
it definitely showed, I think, that you were meant to be part of that production in one way or the other. And I think that they felt it in the room, and then clearly you were.
Yeah,
So
there's like
it all
this
fell into
thing.
place.
It's what's something that's so cool is in Grease on Broadway, all of the T-Birds were Latino, except for Duty, because it would have like, which is funny to me, but like I loved that. I just like really, really loved that. And the alternative would have been if I were Duty, they all would have been Latino except for like a big like blonde white Danny, which would have been funny.
That would have been funny
With like
too. Yeah.
big muscles. Yeah. But instead it was our production, which was me at 21 years old and everybody else a little bit older, running like a ragtag, crazy group of T-Birds. Oh my God.
Well, we touched a little bit because that was such an incredible experience. And you
Yeah.
mentioned being on great sets. What do you think have been some challenges you've discovered either on a set, on a stage, or even in between auditions, just doing the hustle? What has
Oh my
been
God.
some of those issues, and how have you found a way to push past them and keep going?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many roadblocks, on the road to success and so many failures along the way and things that you just got to keep going. And I would say like for me, the hardest thing has been I don't come from like a family with, I don't come from like, ooh, delete that. I just like burped. Um, I don't necessarily come from like a family with money. I don't have like too much help, like things like that. And so I started out in such a big way. And after Greece, to continue my career, I've had to have like, I've worked at coffee shops, I've worked at restaurants, I've worked temp jobs. I mean, even through all of this past like 3 years, I've had temp jobs that one of my friends got me where I'm very lucky. That's how I sustain things. The biggest struggle for me has been I work in mostly new musicals, originating new things, which is like beautiful and amazing. And that is like where you want to be when you are working on things in New York. I'm privileged enough that people have trusted me with their new works and I get to do that. But unfortunately, like there's not a lot of money in that. And so it's like, I would love to be hired in one of these dusty old musicals, like put me as Dr. Dillamon so I can have like a year or two on Broadway where I can have money. Anyway, so that has been my struggle, has been like a consistent job long enough that just like lets me relax so I can chill here. And like, that's what I say to a lot of my students. It's like, not don't quit your day job in a sense that like your dreams will never work out, but it's like the way the world works now is everybody hates artists. Nobody believes artists should be able to sustain their life fully on their art. So it's smarter now to quite literally create your art in your, not even in your free time, but like when you can, and to, it's just smarter to have something to sustain yourself. But that has been mostly my struggle, has been just like finding the stability to then stay here to continue to do the art, because I'm here showing up day one of rehearsal, just doing the best I can to just show up when I know all of these people are like doing just fine, showing up, coming from their like a vacation in Italy, and they think I'm the same, and it's like that has been probably my struggle, is the meeting people where they're at without them knowing like what it's taken for me to just show up. But I persist, and I try to create magic, and I do that. But that's truly has been my biggest roadblock in any of this, has been that, and the struggle of like what my self-worth is based on that. And I've tried to never tie my self-worth to like financial success, because that's just capitalism, babe.
Absolutely. And I think it really comes down to not wanting to have to worry so much and be able to
Yeah,
do more of what you're enjoying without that worry. And I would also think it comes full circle. I mean, if you were to do something that would give you more success, give you more financial stability, that would help you work more on the stuff that you're
correct.
creating yourself or that your friends are. And you could then make bigger. So it
Yes.
kind of feeds into each other.
Yes, yes. And which is why it's like, I wish I would have so many people, like even back when I was doing Grease, Jameson Scott, who's like now a writer, creator, who was our Eugene in Grease, he used to tell me all the time, you need to write for yourself. You're so hilarious. And as a young actor, I thought, oh, write for themselves are losers. That means they failed. Like, are you kidding? And it's like, if there's anything, that's what I say to my students, I say to so many young people, like, just do it now. There's no game, there's no, you're not cool if you're only working as an actor, and like get rid of this game, this competition of like, oh, I sustain myself as only as a performer, and like solely from auditioning, and I don't create any of my work myself. It's like, how boring is that? How crazy is that? And like there's literally 0.05% of the people that exists for. Anyway, but that's it's crazy. So that, on top of like maybe sometimes when like certain off-Broadway companies like don't care about unions, that also sucks.
Absolutely. I mean, how many
Yeah,
times
no,
does there's stuff going on? I hear now rumors about stuff going on with
bro,
Broadway, and so
it's shutting down. It's gonna shut down. I also give
we're
America
headed
about
there.
6 months.
Well, there's that too. The country at
We're
large.
not we're not talking about, yeah, but we're not here to talk about that today.
It goes hand in hand a lot too, which
I
makes
mean,
me curious because you talk about teaching. So where is it that you're teaching, and how's that experience been getting into that mentor role?
yeah. So I teach on Zoom. I teach like a bunch of kids who are in Arizona, which is where my family lives, which is where I like hail from, essentially. But whenever I go back for the holidays, I do master classes and I teach audition workshops. And there's just like, I have a handful of kids that I coach on their auditions, and we just work on things. And they're doing really great. I'm proud of you all if you're watching this. But that's basically where I teach. I've taught all over too. Like I've taught at AMDA. I've taught a lot of different places, but I just love it. I love it because I feel like I was given such a great foundation, and I also think it's really important to find different ways to talk to artists. And like having had so much work and worked with so many people, it is just, I feel like, helpful. It's helpful to sort of impart that information onto the youths, essentially, give them a little bit of that. And it's also, carrying on the tradition that sort of like my dad kind of imparted into me, which is just sort of giving is receiving, is all of it. Like it's, teaching is also teaching myself, is also that sort of thing. And it's something that's just sort of been really lovely. I don't know. I think so many people don't know how to talk to young kids and direct them really strangely or whatever. I think it's like my little troupe of actors is kind of like cool. And what's really fun, I just want to say this, is like all of my students are like actors, young actors who want to be actors themselves. And the parents are not stage parents. And that's my favorite thing, is the parents are like,
That's
well,
great.
they want to do it. So I guess, yeah, because there's a difference. There's like a little bit of a difference if
Yes.
it's, but yeah, but I love teaching. Love, love, love it.
Do you think that experience has somehow changed how you view yourself and your experience?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. No, yes and no. I sort of feel it's like an extension of it, like now that I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and there are people who do want to like learn from me, I do have knowledge. So I guess maybe in a sense, it's helped me feel a little bit more grounded and understand that what I am doing is in fact, I don't even want to say worthwhile, but it's like it's something. It comes from something that actually has ethos, pathos. I know what I'm doing, essentially.
Yeah.
It's reminded me like, oh, okay, I am actually good at it. I don't know. As somebody who loves the craft so much, I'm constantly wondering whether or not I'm good at it, if I'm an imposter, what I can be doing to get better. I'm like a constant sponge of a person and performer, like truly.
Yeah, and it sounds like you really have clarity on the things you've learned in your experience. And I think maybe that probably translates really well into how you teach.
Yeah, I think it's really important to like know how to talk to people too. I think one way is doesn't fit all. You know what I mean? If you judge all of the animals in the animal kingdom on their ability to climb a tree, the monkeys are going to do better than the elephants. And so that's just not how I do it. It's more of like, how do you talk to certain people? How do you do this? How do you do that? And that just also comes from the experience of being talked to terribly so many times and going, oh, wow, I'll never do that.
Yeah.
Or, just things like that. I mean, I'm so shocked at how many directors are just bad.
Yeah.
You heard it
That's
here
something I've heard
first.
often. It's something I've heard
just like-
often. It's rare to find a director who really is empathetic, understanding of the process of what the other person's feeling when they walk in the room, things like that. And I can imagine
Absolutely.
even the people you're working alongside, sometimes it's not always sunshine and rainbows. So I'm wondering,
Yeah.
how has collaborating been, and how important has
Yeah.
that been for you in your process?
Yeah. Oh, collaborating is everything, man. I feel like nothing happens without a village and collaboration. And like, I was listening and watching Marina's episode, and she got it right on the head of like, once you start opening things up to your community, things start to happen. Magically, they start to happen a little bit more and quicker, and people start to inspire each other, and the ball just gets rolling more. And that's something I didn't really know actively until later in my life, because I was like kind of in my younger years orbiting a lot of creative families and stuff like that and not really finding any. But I think that other people's processes has been the biggest like working professionally, because you can show up so prepared, ready for anything, and you will never be ready for everyone's processes. You know what I mean? Like everybody processes things differently, and like there are just some things that are like, okay, like what's something that's so funny is one time I was like, so I did Disaster on Broadway with a lot of cool, really famous people, and I played best friends with Adam Pascal, who's like a really famous Broadway actor. And in rehearsal, just one day, we were like getting ready to come on for like the first scene, and I was just like joking. I was like, where are we coming from? Like, where do we think we're coming from? Like, very simple, very playful. And Adam turns to me and goes, I don't do that shit. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, of course. I was just meaning like, and he's like, yeah, I don't really do that stuff. I was like, yeah, no, me neither. I was just sort of like playing, like I was just pretending. But like we could make, okay, yeah. And so I was like, right, like, and that, of course, doesn't affect what happens on stage. Everybody gets there differently. It was just like, oh my God, that is so funny. And then I watched, because again, I told you I observe everything. So I was watching on the other side of the stage the same day, Harry Butler talked to him about something, and I watched him do the same thing to her, same exact words. She was like, so why do you, because they played like ex-lovers in the show, and I remember her then chatting, her being like, so why do you think we broke up? And he literally goes, oh, I don't do that shit. I don't do that. And I just like watched her do the same, like, oh yeah, of course. I was like, acting is crazy. But it was like, even Miss Carrie Butler, she rolls with it. And she's like, you know what? Yeah, whatever. Okay. But it was just such a funny, and that's, the opposite, which is like Jen Simard preparing. She was nominated for a Tony for. I asked her, I was like, how did you start preparing for this role? Like, how did you? And she was like, I started with somebody's got to be the worst nun. And I was like, I love it. But, the process is probably the most fun and the most daunting thing, because you're always excited to work with certain people, but you never know how they work. You know what I mean? Like, you never know. But it's definitely the thing that keeps me on my toes, is like that kind of stuff. But I love collaboration. Collaboration is like the most fun. Like getting a script and getting in there and playing with people. I mean, I'm almost exclusively hired for bringing new characters to life and like enhancing them. Like mostly kind of what happens is like I love to help people develop their works. And then they'll kind of be like, there's not really anything for you in this, but we're going to write something for you because you're crazy. Like it's, that kind of happened with the connector. That's happening with, I just did a workshop of Roja with Jaime
Oh,
and
nice.
Florencia. And I'm not doing the NAMPT one right now. I'm sad because I couldn't do it because I'm doing Drowsy Chaperone, but that's still very cool. But like with Roja, I was just helping them out. Like I was just like, oh yeah, like doing the reading and stuff. And then Jaime was like, we're going to like flesh out this specific thing for you and like write you a song and do this. And I was like, yes.
Awesome.
And that's just, I don't know. I love collabing and being crazy. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Kinda.
it sounds also like the process of collaborating there's a lot more freedom and opportunities to do that on stage as opposed to on screen, which could be a whole other situation.
Well, I mean, I don't even want to say I don't work too much on screen, so I don't really know, but the collaboration aspect of on screen is terrifying to me. Like it's fun. Like Elsbeth, amazing set. I had like I improved so much with Carrie Preston, who she's just so funny and so cool. And I had a couple scenes with her in the episode I was in, and I had a couple of like I had the last line in one of the scenes, and so we just kept improving, and like that was really fun. I loved that. I love that collaboration. She was all about that. But then there's certain sets that are like not about collaboration at all. It's just sort of like show up, do the thing, hurry, which is so scary. But that's like TV. The medium is like the director is new most of the time. So like the director is still trying to like prove themselves. It's really weird. But the collaboration that I love and that I get to be a part of is typically with, yeah, the theater collaboration aspect of it is like, I think just at this point, I've been around for long enough, thank God, where like people trust me and now know I can deliver and I do what I do well. So that has been something in my later years that I've been really grateful for.
Absolutely. And has that changed your process at all between stage and screen? Do you work differently depending on what you're doing?
Yeah. So if I ever work in film and television, I just come knowing everything and like I decide everything myself because there's literally no rehearsal. Like that's why I try to tell my kids when I'm like, just in case you book this, you're going to get there and nobody's really going to tell you anything and they're going to expect you to just like be the person. So that is the aspect that has changed, like the non-collaborative vibe of film and television has helped me realize like I just need to, because I used to show up like, oh, okay, they're gonna give me something or they're gonna direct me, there's none of that. It's we hired you because you have the right look and you looked like the character, you acted like the character, show up and literally drop in and be this person or else. And that's what film and television feels like. And the collaboration in theater feels much more like, let's find this essence, let's play, let's do this, and that's like where I live because, again, going back to the brazenness, I've always had this level of I will happily fall on my face in rehearsal. I'll jump off that. I'll do this. I'll do that. And not a lot of people are willing to do that, which has always baffled me, which is, again, what I always try to tell to my students. It's like, just go for it. People can bring you back. People are less inclined to bring something out of you. But yeah, the most of my theater career and credits have been through like wonderful collaborations and like getting me work and stuff like that. I rarely
Yeah, that sounds like
audition
where
and
most of
yeah.
the well, it sounds like where most of the magic happens. It sounds like that's what creates these incredible memories and incredible productions as an end result.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say for sure.
Which makes me wonder then, because you've done a bunch of things already, and you're always working with others. Is there a dream role of yours that's out there that you would love to play?
Yes,
Whether it's
so
something that's
many.
been created or a type of character that hasn't been created yet.
Oh my God. So obviously most of my dream roles have all not been created. Like I would love to play like a non-binary character in something. I would love to play a Latino character, like a white passing mixed Latino character, like that tells that story, like somebody who lives in both worlds who's maybe not white enough for the white people or Latino enough for the Latino people, like something there. But also like this is not the time for those stories. Like I get that, but it's like when will be the time? I don't know. But like I get that. But so something like that, / I would love to be the baker. I would love to be the baker in Into the Woods. I would love to be anything in Rocky Horror. I would love to be Hedwig. I would love to be King George in Hamilton. Oof, there's so many things. I would love to be Donna Sheridan in Mamma Mia. I would love to be in Cats. anything in cats. Honestly, I would love to just be like in this revival, and I've texted Jalen this, who's the director. I was like, what do we think of me? Just like I'm a normal cat on the side of the stage for this revival, and I'm just there the whole time. Like I'm just a cat. And he texted back, there's nothing normal about you. And I was like, okay, fine. But like, honestly, anything that is silly, fun, crazy, innovative, I'm there. But any dream role for me today would be one of those, or something that exists that's just like a long running show where I can sit down and like make money. Those are most of my dream roles, I would say, have not been created yet. Oh, and then I
Well, the
guess I
ones
would
that
want to say the last one I would say would be Conrad. I want to play Conrad in The Connector when it comes back. I want to play like the older guy that yeah, I want to play Conrad.
well, I say manifest all those roles because they're out there. You can play
Also
them.
dream role, my other dream roles would be to be a puppeteer in the Muppet Show, the TV show. I want to be an assist. I want to like help assist the right arms or puppeteer, or like help wrangle puppets on any Fraggle Rock or Sesame Street or a puppet adjacent show, because my first love is actually puppets. Like F
We're gonna
theater.
get into that. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay.
No, but yeah, I'm excited to talk about that, especially with some of the Muppets coming on stage soon on Broadway. But apart from manifesting the roles that are already created, I would say the ones that aren't, write them. I think
Yeah.
the same advice you give to others, write them yourself, make that project, make it a reality.
Yeah. I am getting together later next week, and I'm talking with Jaime right now, where I think we're going to be working on making something fun and musical together, which is going to be cool.
I'm excited to hear more about that. I'm going to be keeping an eye
Yeah.
out. And let's talk about your love of puppets, because that's something that's super fun, and it's no stranger to both stage and screen. I mean, Avenue
Right.
Q, and then of course the Muppets, which are, I hear they're making a small resurgence with a special maybe next year. So
Yes.
how's your interest and love for that kind of come to be, and how do you want to make that a reality for yourself?
Well, I think I started out just watching like Sesame Street and The Muppet Show and anything Jim Henson, all the Muppet movies. I was just enamored by the fun community, the comedy, the sketch aspect of it, the Hollywood aspect. But for me also, like as a kid, I have I have an engineerial sort of mind. I was fascinated with the characters, but also like, how did they do that? Like, how physically are they making that happen? Like, I would see Big Bird and I would think to myself, like, how is that? How do they do that? So that became like a huge fascination for me as a kid, kind of like figuring out, oh, these are performers, these are actors, these are people, this is really great. And I just love the idea of like magic and other worlds and escapism and that kind of fantastic aspect of everything. And so I just have always loved anything like Puzzle Place, Eureka's Castle, any puppet show. And so yeah, it's just a natural, it's very much like theater to me too. Like you're saying, some of my earliest memories of performing were like making my own puppets with hot glue guns and like sewing and like putting the couches together and like telling my family there'd be like a show at 7 p.m. and I was just doing like a weird puppet show. I remember I had like a chicken puppet once. And so I had a friend over. It was my parents were having friends over for dinner, and they had kids my age. And I had enlisted all the kids in being in my puppet show that we were going to show the parents after dinner. And I remember I was like, okay. And it was with a chicken, and it was called Mission Impeccable. And it was about a chicken spy. And it was really good, but I just remember like one of the kids was like not about it, and I remember thinking like, you'll never make it. You're never gonna make it in this business if you can't focus right now. But that's basically all. Like I really just love puppets, and like so I'm as a hobby, and also like for like you mentioned, I have Hi Sweetie, my podcast, which is basically like I smoke weed with my guests and we talk about fun things, and it's very silly, and there's Foley in it, and it's very magical. But I'm switching over to like a couple of like maybe 1 or 2 video episodes a month in addition to audio episodes. And I've added a couple puppet characters to the lore
Oh,
of
awesome.
Hi Sweetie. Like I can't even show you. I'm going to show you Cosmo. This is Cosmo. This is my very first like pro puppet build that I made here, and I'm really proud of Cosmo. And you'll see a lot of Cosmo. And this is honestly like Jaime and I are working on something having to do with this character.
Oh, that's super exciting.
And like, I mean, this character and their friends, but okay, don't judge. But this is like my very first. Oh my God. I mean, listen, he's already been debuted, but this is Cosmo here.
You see him clearly. Wow. That looks like an
Yes.
actual Muppet. I just got to say.
Yeah, it is.
Clearly from a young age you wanted to learn how these work and how to make them, and you're doing it. I was going to say, like, you should be making stuff like this all the time. So I'm really happy to see.
Yeah.
And I love
So,
the
yeah.
fact you can't really see his eyes.
Yeah, I know. They're in there somewhere, but you know, we don't know. But this is Cosmo, and Cosmo is our first intern at Hi Sweetie. Okay, thanks, Cosmo.
Is he a helpful intern?
Sometimes, but you know, he doesn't really know what he's doing. But he's new. He's also new to
Okay,
this world. So
that's true.
you know what I mean? And also, I mean, there's just a lot happening. And also I'm maybe just going crazy and making puppets, but that's fine. But yeah, expect something crazy with like a weird cast of cosmic creatures. I'm calling all of my puppet gang, my cast, you know, they have the Muppets, they have whatever. My cast of creatures, I'm calling the Cosmics. So they live in the Cosmic Clubhouse, which is like my production company, essentially. Don't get me
Could that
started
be a
talking
possible
about
title for
puppets.
something?
Oh my
Well,
God,
hey,
no. I mean, that's
up
exactly.
my alley.
So this is like the lore of. So basically, the puppets were built out of the lore of my podcast. Is whenever a guest comes, it's audio only right now, but whenever a guest comes, it's always like, oh, thank you for making the trek out here in the middle of the woods to the Cosmic Clubhouse. Thanks for joining the Clubhouse. It's a very like vibe, and so this is sort of like building out that world, like we are in this clubhouse in the middle of the woods in like a giant tree house, and like there's really cosmic creatures everywhere, and so that is sort of the world that I'm coming from to like create all these cosmics and like the characters and all that. So it's all sort of joined, but the Cosmic Clubhouse, Cosmo and the Cosmics, like it's all coming. And Marina is a part
That's
of it.
incredible.
Yeah, like
Really?
yes. She's
Awesome.
she's you know. But anyway, but thank you for complimenting that puppet. I'm really proud of the build and like the look and everything. And I had
Yes.
help from like really cool people, like my friend Noel McNeil, who is Bear from Bear in the Big Blue House, and like Magellan, like a puppeteer. You know, he sort of
Yeah.
pointed me in the right direction for certain things. And just for my birthday, which was last week, he gifted me his old Singer sewing machine. So I'm like
Oh my
really excited
gosh.
about that. But anyways,
Well,
don't get
happy
me started on.
belated.
Thank you so
But
much.
also, I'm
Thank
really
you.
excited to hear and see what comes next with the Cosmics, because that sounds super exciting. And I love how you brought it in to another project you were already doing, which was the podcast, and you're just kind of building up that world and that
Yeah.
lore, which is incredible.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
That's really, I think, where the real magic comes into play, because it's clear you were inspired by it as a kid, and now you're getting to do it. And so I'm curious if you had to give advice to others who are maybe juggling with the idea of what their dreams are, how to pursue them, what they want to do, and they're feeling disheartened. Maybe they're going through imposter syndrome. Maybe they're feeling like, I don't know if I can do this. I love this, but I don't know if I'm good enough to do it. What advice would you
Right.
give people going through that?
Oh, I would say listen to your intuition, which is the statements in your head, not the questions. The questions are your anxiety. And I would say listen to the statements that you can quietly say in your head when you're freaking out or when you don't know what to do. What are the things that are statements that you hear in your head? Listen to that. And also, as cliche as it is, you have to be the first person to believe in yourself and be there for yourself and never stop believing in yourself. Like the second you stop believing in what you are doing, I think it becomes non-alchemizing. Like there's like a lack of magic there. Like truly the alchemy disappears the second you believe it is not there anymore. And so it's more of that little belief in the magic in the moment of life, essentially, that you have something to say, that you have a point of view that is important. I would say stay true to who you are. Find out your point of view on most, if not all, things in life, because that is the point of being an artist, and to just remember that it's not easy, and that most failures lead to success. Like most, if not every successful person is there because they didn't quit in the face of many failures. You know, that's a lot of it. Weird advice, I guess.
I think that's perfect advice.
Also, don't trust the people that look at your shoes before shaking your hand.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that
They're
one before, and yet it makes complete sense.
they're
Like
never
right
to be
away.
trusted. They're never to be trusted if somebody looks at your shoes before saying hello to you.
That's good to keep in mind, everyone listening.
Mm.
I'm really curious now because you touched a little bit on stuff you're working on. Is there anything else that you're able to talk about that you've got going on and you're working on?
No, I mean, I'm literally not. I'm about to do a part of Breaking the Binaries production of Drowsy Chaperone at
Awesome.
concept musical, I believe, about Frankenstein, starting a podcast. Or but it's by Eli Bolin and Matt Cox, really cool people, and I'm really glad I get to be a part
Awesome.
of that. I'm just doing that. But yeah, just watch out for there's gonna be something. There's gonna be something happening with these puppets, and it's gonna be fun. And I also maybe have a book that is going to be coming out. I mean, I do, but I'm saying maybe within the next couple of weeks. So be looking out for that. Like potentially
Awesome.
like a fun. Actually, don't say any of that because that might not happen. But maybe actually, but it is. I'm just nervous.
But if and when it does, we will be posting about it because that sounds really exciting.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, Max, thank you so much again for being on. It is really inspiring hearing not only your journey, but the things you're working on, the way that you are stretching every creative muscle you've got. And I'm really
Aw.
excited to see what you've come out with next. I'm going to be following you.
Hey, thanks, Matthew. Thanks for having me. This was so lovely, and I love the show, and it's an
Thank
honor.
you. It's an honor to have you. And thank you for becoming part of the family. We're excited to see what you're up to next.
Yay, of course. Mwah.
And everyone listening, go out there and do some magic. Bye, everybody.
Please. Bye.